Hey, this is Stu Schaefer, and I'm about to explain the key hormones you need to control if you want to lose weight in menopause, and it's not what you think. It's not the estrogen, progesterone, things like that. So you're going to want to stay tuned till the end because I'm going to go through all of them, how to affect them, how to get them to balance so you can start losing weight so easily. Now, really quick, I know I'm a guy. You might be wondering, why is this guy talking about women in menopause? Well, I've worked with women in menopause for the last 25 years. This also includes perimenopause and postmenopause. And over the 25 years that I've helped thousands and thousands and thousands of women lose weight who had gut issues, autoimmune issues, thyroid issues, hormone issues, you name it, I figured out the best way to lose weight if you're a woman in menopause, and it's been tested in the field for over 2 decades. So let's jump right in. We're going to talk about 5 hormones specifically, how they work, how to get them balanced so that you can control them and lose weight without having to cut calories or count all these things or restrict or cut carbs or any of that stuff that actually ends up damaging your body. Let's look at the first hormone. It's something called glucagon. Glucagon. This is the opposite of insulin. Okay, so what happens? I'll give you a little crash course. When you eat something and your blood sugar goes up, your body releases insulin. I'm going to talk about this in just a second, but the insulin then kind of drives the blood sugar back down. Well, when your blood sugar goes too low, your body releases glucagon, which brings the blood sugar back up. Your body has so many hormones and enzymes in the body to balance it out, to keep you alive, and this is just one of them. So when your blood sugar dips too low, your body releases glucagon. Okay, who cares? Why is this important? Well, here's why. Because one of the effects of glucagon is it allows your body to produce a very potent fat-burning enzyme. The enzyme is called HSL. And what this enzyme does is it actually goes into your fat cells and starts pulling out the fatty acids so you can use fat as fuel. It also, when you eat, it makes your muscles and liver more sensitive so that when you eat, the food goes to your muscles and your liver instead of your fat cells. It's a very, very powerful fat-burning enzyme. Now, here's where the confusion comes in. What a lot of people think, and this is a mistake, they think if you do something like intermittent fasting or really low-carb diets, that you're going to cause your blood sugar to dip low, which will trigger this glucagon and release this enzyme and cause you to burn fat. That would appear correct, but it is 100% wrong. And I'm going to explain why in 2 minutes, so stay with me. This is the first hormone you have to control, and I'll tell you something. You don't have to starve yourself to get this hormone to release. Certain foods eaten in certain quantities at certain times of the day will actually trigger glucagon to be produced. One of these foods would include specific types and amounts of protein. Now, I've done other lessons about protein. You can check those out. But it has to be the right amount and the right type. It has to be complete. And depending on your size, how much you weigh, how much body fat you have, how much lean mass you have, your age, that will determine the amount. So I can't give you a specific amount because it's individual. But that's a trick to get it to release without some of the side effects that I'm going to talk about with fasting and low-carb diets in just a second. Let's look at the second hormone. I know you've heard of this one. It's called insulin. So, as I was saying earlier, when you eat something and your blood sugar goes up, the body releases insulin. And that insulin is like a little shuttle bus. All it does is it's a transportation hormone. Everyone says it's a fat storing hormone. No, it transports. But if you use it wrong, it will transport to your fat cells. Okay? If you use insulin correctly, it will transport to your muscles and liver, which will have amazing effects on your body, and it'll crank up your metabolism and cause you to burn fat. You have to know how to use it. When too much insulin gets released, that's when things go bad. That's when your body will start producing an enzyme that causes you to store fat. The enzyme is called LPL. What it does is it makes your fat cells really sensitive, so that when you eat, that insulin doesn't even try to put the food in your muscles or the liver, which would give you the benefit. No, it puts it straight into the fat cells. Oh, and then what the LPL does, it puts a shield around those fat cells that locks the fatty acids inside, so they can go into the fat cell, but not back out. In other words, it's very easy to gain fat, but very hard to lose it. This is why so many women think to themselves, oh my gosh, why is it so flippin' hard to lose body fat? But then I just gain it like that. This is one of the reasons. Here's another secret. Listen carefully. The other thing that causes your body to produce LPL is if you don't eat enough. This could include things like fasting, 1 meal a day, time-restricted eating, calorie restriction, even over-exercise. The body thinks it's not getting enough. And so it goes into this survival mode and it releases LPL so that when you eat, it can take that food. It doesn't think you're going to get enough. It thinks you're starving. So it lets the LPL release so that it can take the food and save the food for later. And the only place it can do that, your fat cells. So the LPL causes you to store fat. And it can be if you're cranking the insulin or if you're not eating enough. Crazy. Everything about the body is keeping it in balance. Too much or too little of anything has negative side effects. Let's look at the third hormone. And this one's a biggie, cortisol. Cortisol is another one of those hormones, like insulin, that everyone gets wrong. They think it's bad, bad, bad. Cortisol actually helps you burn fat when it's in the right range, the sweet spot. But when it's out of range, it prevents you from burning fat and instead causes you to burn muscle. So now you burn muscle and store fat. And if you combine it with these other two hormones, if they're not in balance, now you're storing fat, and burning muscle when you exercise, which slows down your metabolism. Cortisol and adrenaline also get released. Cortisol gets released when you do things like low carb and intermittent fasting diets. So even though on the surface it would appear that those types of diets would cause the correct hormones and enzymes to be produced, the problem is it gets overshadowed by the hormones and enzymes that prevent you from burning fat and losing weight. And this is why people who do things like fasting and low carb will almost always see results in the beginning. And then, pow, it stops, and they make their body worse, they wreck their metabolism, and now their body gets stuck in this trap. The official name for the trap is called repressed metabolic syndrome, or RMS, which means when you eat, you store it as fat. When you exercise, you burn muscle. So your body's doing everything opposite of what you want it to. And so when women get stuck here, what do? The most logical thing in the world. You try to eat less and exercise more, and it makes everything worse. That's why when I work with clients, they actually end up eating more, exercising less. We add all these foods back in to get these hormones and enzymes producing so that you don't have to restrict. You don't have to exercise all the time. Now your hormones are being produced, the right enzymes are being released, you're burning fat, burning fat, burning fat, and your hormones start to normalize and balance. Now the other thing cortisol does is it causes inflammation and gut issues, and that cranks up your insulin. So now your cortisol is running high, that causes your insulin to run high. And so it backfires when you try to do low carb and fasting diets. This is how it backfires. And when you're a woman and you're in menopause, your body becomes more sensitive to these types of hormones. And so the backfire, the side effects, become much, much bigger. Way bigger. And this is why it feels so hard to lose weight. You've got to do things right. It's not calorie restriction, it's not fasting, it's not low carb. You have to eat enough food, the right time, the right combination, and it's all about creating these chemical reactions, producing the right hormones. Let's look at the fourth one. You can probably tell what it is. It's your thyroid hormone. Okay, well, cortisol, if your cortisol is high and chronically elevated, it's going to inhibit or lower your thyroid function, which will slow down your metabolism. It'll zap your energy. It will make you lethargic. It will affect your hair, skin, and nails and make you age faster. Now, there's 3 primary components you want to look at with the thyroid. Everyone just tests TSH, or thyroid stimulating hormone. There's way more to it than that. You have T3, you have T4, and then you have reverse T3. So the body essentially produces T4, and then it has to convert it to T3, and the T3 is what causes you to burn fat. It's what gives you the energy. The problem is, sometimes if you're not eating right, you won't convert the T4 to T3 very well. Or if you get your T3 and T4 checked and they're normal, but you don't check your reverse T3, if your reverse T3 is too high, that is like having hypothyroid. That cancels out the T3. When you're stressed or sick, your body releases more reverse T3 kind of to slow you down so you don't overheat. This is another one of those built-in safety mechanisms the body has. Well, if you're not eating enough, if your cortisol is running super high, you might overproduce reverse T3. Or you're not converting T4 to T3. If you're not eating enough carbs, that will happen. And so your thyroid hormone tanks, and so does your metabolism. Let's look at the 5th set of hormones. Now, most women, if you think about it, are always convinced the first thing they look at, it's got to be my estrogen or progesterone or testosterone or pregnenolone. They look at the sex hormones. This is the last. It's the least important. There's actually 2 other hormones that you have to know about. One of them is called leptin, and the other is called adiponectin, and even these come before your sex hormones. They're fat-burning hormones that get produced by your body the more fat you have. So the fat cells in your body produce leptin and adiponectin. And this is how the body balances itself. The more fat you have, the higher these hormones go. And then they send a signal to your brain that says, hey, we have enough fat Don't store any fat, burn fat, speed up the metabolism. If those hormones don't get through, now your body thinks you don't have enough fat and it's going to get the wrong signal, slow down your metabolism and start storing fat. And leptin and adiponectin are highly influenced by the foods you eat. They need carbs to function correctly. Insulin has to transport them. So if you're keeping your insulin too low, then they won't transport to the brain correctly. Things like triglycerides can block them. Certain foods can block them. Other foods can help make you more sensitive to them. You need to understand those as well. But the sex hormones are last. These are your estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, and pregnenolone. And the fastest way to balance these hormones in menopause naturally without hormone replacement therapy is by the food you eat and getting the cortisol down. Because in menopause, your adrenal glands have to change the hormones. They have to convert the hormones into these estrogens, progesterones, testosterones, pregnenolones. If your cortisol is running too high, your adrenal glands can't make the conversion. And so your sex hormones go out of balance. They are never the root cause of weight gain or not being able to lose weight. They're only a symptom. The root cause are these other hormones that nobody talks about. And the good news is you can fix these through eating and exercising correctly. When you get these balanced out, your cortisol will go down. You're going to be producing the right enzymes to burn fat. Your thyroid will improve. And so what's going to happen? You're going to start burning fat all the time. Your energy is going to go up. You will never have cravings again. And now your sex hormones can balance naturally without having to use hormone replacement therapy. And hormone replacement therapy should always be a last resort, because once you start putting in hormones externally, fake hormones, your body stops producing it on their own. So it's a one-way street. And a lot of women get trapped there because they don't realize that. Instead, you can fix these other hormones. Now, we're going to splash up 2 videos. One's going to be all about food combinations, and the other is going to go in depth on hormones. Click the links. Go watch these videos right now. If you want to work with me or you want some other great free resources, look in the description. Click the links down below, and you can grab some free resources or apply to work with me. Right now, click the links to go watch the videos. Click the link below, and I'll see you over there. All right, take care.